Genocide is the act of killing off a particular group of people. Denationalization is the act of taking away a particular group's identity. African American is a misnomer. Our true identity is Aboriginal Americans of Moorish descent.
John L. Smith, I'm a native of Newark.
Where your family from?
Alabama.
And we here to discuss the topic of reparations for the so-called African American. What's your opinion and views on reparations?
Well, I think it's a great idea if it could happen, but I suggest that we look at the reality of it. I know it's a topic that has been kicked around in the political circle for quite a few years. It's gaining more awareness as people become involved in politics. But that's the magic word. The magic word is politics. Void of a military takeover of this country, which is highly unlikely and not even something that I would suggest, because it would create more chaos. We're going to have to go through the political system. And if you look at the political system in today's society, right now we're talking about 2019 pending 2020. The reality of it is that, considering what is happening in the Senate and in Congress, period, it's never going to happen at this point in time. No matter how enthusiastic we are, it all has to go through the political system. And the reality of that is, the possibility is that it could happen after 2040. Why do I say 2040? Because those of us who are aware of the fact that the projection of the Census Board is that the country's population will flip in 2040 from minority, black and Hispanics to the majority of black and Hispanics and blacks. At that point in time, people should understand the value and the consequences of voting and not voting. Even if you have the majority of people in 2040, without those people partaking in the political I'm sorry, I'm sick, so I'm having a little problem.
Take your time, Elder.
If people are not involved in the political system, it won't happen even with the majority. But the point that I'm trying to make is that if you're the majority and you are out there actively voting and participating, what happens? That's when you elect your officials. Your officials then can set the program in progress by voting. If you command the two houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, and you have a president, whether he's black or color, at that point in time, the subject matter becomes action. And that's the way that I see it.
I noticed that you use the term black and Hispanic. The so-called African American, black, we know, is a colloquial term.
Correct.
It could mean African.
That's correct.
It means Togo. It could mean West Indian. It could mean Philippines, because you got black people all over. And I like the term black. In my jurisdiction, the Aboriginal Republic of North America, we define ourselves as black. Not politically. Politically, we define ourselves as Aboriginal Americans of Moorish descent. Or we're addressing the so-called African American political status for the first time in history. Speak on the so-called African American experience, not just the black experience. Let me hear a little bit about your positive, negative, and what you hope to see in the future of the so-called African American people.
Well, let's go back to prior 1960, during the true age of segregation in this country. The word black was almost never mentioned because we had been conditioned to think of the use of the word black to describe African Americans living in this country was a negative thing. It was, in my experience, it was only after the advent of the Civil Rights Movement and the riots of the 60s, whether it was in California, Newark, Detroit, the major cities throughout this country, that a sense of black pride developed, and you would see people walking down the street, our physical makeup change, we start wearing our hair naturally, and we start to accept with pride the color of black. And I think that changed the whole mind concept of where we are today.
Speak a little bit about your parents and their experience with the so-called as African Americans in this country.
Support Ali, man.